Christian Muche. He is in New Zealand. How did you build your network in the United States?
You have to be committed, and that means traveling like hell.
Crises always create a lot of opportunity, and especially after this crisis, it changes a lot of patterns.
When you are an entrepreneur, you always think about what's next. You don't stop doing this. I went to bed at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning. It means a lot of commitment. Everybody who is an entrepreneur knows this better than anybody else.
How did you get Elon Musk to speak on your stage? Welcome back to another episode of New Trend Society podcast. Today with Christian Muche. He is in New Zealand. I am in Los Angeles. We couldn't be further away from each other. And he has a lot of stories to tell. So let's go right into it. Christian, how did you get Elon Musk to speak on your stage?
Yeah, that was the very first year when I launched Possible, which was in 23, just nearly 3 years ago, which was a big story, as you can imagine. Elon Musk, such a big guy and famous guy. He just acquired Twitter at this time, which was still called Twitter. There was one dear friend, Linda Yaccarino. At this time, she was a top executive as NBCU, and she had some relationships to Elon and his team. And we talked about this idea, and it was just a few weeks prior to the first event. And there was just one call with his team and himself, and it was done. So he confirmed immediately to come on stage, being interviewed by Linda. And at the end, I think a lot of people in the industry knows the turnout, which was he was finally interviewing her. And 3 weeks after Possible, being on our stage with her, he hired her as the future CEO of Twitter, or then, more known as X. That was a story in the very first year about him and Linda.
That's so crazy, and that's a big highlight right from the start. How does a security detail of a guy like Elon Musk look like?
A good question, because of course over the course of the years now we had a lot of talents and celebrity on site. And without mentioning dedicated people, but he came with, I think, 1 or 2 security guys as the richest man on earth, and such a big entrepreneur. That was the easiest handling ever with a celebrity or such a personality. Others will come with a whole team, an entire team, and will check everything on site days before, etc., etc. That was pretty straightforward, I have to say, easy to handle.
And this is wild, yeah? Like, let's say if you have a former president or so, a friend of mine, I think you maybe you also know him, Felix Haas from Munich, from Bits and Pretzels. They booked Barack Obama and Michelle
Years
Obama, and I did a photo shoot with Michelle Obama prior, and this was insane security detail. They flew with a 747 in. There were like 50 people coming. There was a screening of Bundespolizei, Secret Service, and everything beforehand. Everybody had to do. It was even like shortly after Corona, right?
Yeah.
Everybody had to do like 2 PCR tests, and everything was so wild. And then in comparison, there's this guy Elon just showing up by himself, like, "Hey, here I am."
I mean, it was just 2.5 or 3 years ago. It might be also different in today's time, to be honest. After he stepped a bit more into the political, scene,
and made some more enemies.
I'm not commenting on this, but this is everybody's, opinion. But however, it might be different in today's time. But at this, that was really, really straightforward. And as you can imagine, me and my team, we really appreciated this. It was a straightforward communication. And overall, Miami is, where Possible happens. As you know, Miami is such a great spot for a lot of celebrities. They are living there. They have their second or third houses there. They're used to it, right? The whole environment there is used to it, and therefore it's a great spot to handle this pretty easy.
And let's talk about Possible a little bit later today.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of like the second big venture you're starting. You started another great conference at DMEXCO in Germany. Let's start right in the beginning, and one of your first biggest or big positions with a lot of impact. Sounds like a dream job at Yahoo. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I joined Yahoo, I think back in 2000, so long time ago. And that was the time where Yahoo became official partner, sponsor, and tech partner for FIFA.
Was it before when you joined? Was it before the .com crash, or right after, or in the middle?
It was right in the middle.
Okay.
So Yahoo had a big reorganization, not just in the US but also in Germany, etc. I joined to run the German business in the very first year, and then I went over to the Yahoo Inc. organization, the headquarter, because of that partnership which was in place by then between FIFA, the World Football Organization, and Yahoo. And that was a dream job, because I'm originally German, so I'm very much into football, or soccer, like as they say in the US. And running the whole sales department, being in touch with the FIFA partners and sponsors, being responsible for their digital platforms on the FIFA side, but also the Yahoo inventory, and then ending up after a couple of years, doing this great job together with the FIFA and the Yahoo colleagues, and then ending up being in Germany and enjoying the FIFA World Cup, which was 2006. Some of your audience may remember that. That was an outstanding event. It was such a joyful, and great event back at this time in Germany. So that was a highlight for me, at the end of a couple of year road show and roadmap, working on this project and then being part of this massive event.
How does a partnership like that works? I think it's now a little bit down the road, and probably the prices increased a little bit. But what kind of budgets does a company like Yahoo invest in such a partnership? Like, because one thing is like to get the partnership rights, but the second thing is to activate actually these rights with on-ground activations in real life events, online ads, all that. How does it work? Can you give us like a little budget breakdown?
Not because I don't want, but I think it's no longer a reference for today's situation. I think this whole license right situation, the global markets, etc. It changed so dramatically that it doesn't mean any reference for today's time. First thing. Second, the Yahoo partnership with FIFA was very special because we were not just becoming a global sponsor. At this time, I think there were other brands like Emirates and Fujifilm and Hyundai and Budweiser, etc. That lineup changed also in the meantime dramatically. However, we became one of the global sponsors, but also the exclusive tech provider for FIFA. So we were responsible with our IT and tech team to run all the digital platforms for FIFA. So at this time, I mean, again, back in 2004, 5, 6, the digital platforms just developed, right? FIFA realized that there is an additional opportunity, to make money out of digital opportunities, digital advertising opportunities. Today, everybody would laugh about it. It's the heart. It's the core of everything. But at this time, we came out from the traditional license and advertising business on TV, print, out of home, etc. And digital was just added at this time.
Oh, okay. So the TV part was basically the banner or like the Bandenwerbung that you see all the time on TV.
Exactly.
And then a little bit of print here and there on billboards and posters and all that.
And on site, of course, right? In the stadiums, at the venues, etc., etc. Yeah.
And classical partners for that were like Coca-Cola and so, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, completely different to today's world.
And basically, you also started a new category at whole in that licensing with the digital parts.
Exactly. So we got in touch with, me and my team. We had to go get in touch with the existing sponsors, which came on board years ago, because normally FIFA, similar to the Olympic Committee, they are creating partnerships over several terms. So you're not just becoming a partner for one event. So you sign contracts over 8, 12, or maybe longer years. And therefore, we had to convince existing sponsors who already pay a fortune to become a global sponsor of FIFA to spend additional money and spend additional resources and get familiar with the new digital world. And that was the biggest challenge for us, but there was also a lot of fun.
Okay. Do you see similarities today when you look at World Cup coming and stuff? I have the feeling now every kind of media right is, or like a lot of media rights are established now. Let's say a team like the Lakers, they have an official rental car partner, Sixt. They have an official credit card. They have the official I don't know, probably a official cutlery partner, an official towel partner, whatever. Do you see other opportunities in the future, or some rights that are not activated and created yet?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always hard for all of us to foresee the future and predict the future. But one for sure, it will change. It's changing every day. I mean, we wake up every day and the world already changed because of technology, because of further innovations, because of new players in the market who provide different kind of platforms or services, etc. Yes, the answer is clearly yes. The world, also in the licensee or in the license or in the media rights sector, will be completely different in 5, 6, 7 years.
After the peak in your corporate career, you quit and decided to move to the end of the world.
Yes, so I was in the corp world, first with AOL and then with Yahoo for quite a time, and my wife as well. And yeah, our son was born in 2004, back in 2004. And there was a time, well, with the highlight, of the World Cup happening 2006 in Germany, that there was a change coming anyway. And I had to make a decision whether I'm staying in the corporate world or not, and maybe follow the path more, being what I did prior to this already. I founded my own company, so I was entrepreneur already. So
okay.
And I like the idea to look into more the entrepreneur world again, and maybe think about new businesses. But before doing this, we made a hard cut and said, okay, let's move to the other side of the world, as you said. And December 2006, we moved to New Zealand, exactly onto the other side. And then I told my wife, I think it was more or less 2 months later, hey, I'm flying back to Germany. I'm founding a new company. I'm launching a new business. And this became DMEXCO, one of still the well-known massive event. It still exists, happening every year in Cologne in Germany.
Why New Zealand?
It's a wonderful country. It's a wonderful environment. It's such an open-minded community here, very international. And when we visited the country years prior as a tourist, we spent a lot of time here. We just simply fall in love with the country and with the people. And we said, okay, it could be anywhere else, but in this case, it was just New Zealand. So therefore, it does make a huge difference, right? If you travel 8,000 kilometers or just 500 kilometers, or if you move, the let's say the challenges or the to organize such a move is more or less the same. It takes a bit more time, but at the end, it's more or less the same, and the distance is longer.
And the commuting time to your new office,
or
to your venture house, or not?
Of course, but we fall in love with the country, and we said, why should we wait any longer, right? There's always, in many cases, there's one chance in your life, and you need to take the opportunity. Otherwise, I love you might regret it.
I love that, and I can totally relate to that. I mean, it's a little bit similar. Los Angeles is not the end of the world, so but it's still far away from Germany, and where we have all the network, where we know all the people, where a lot of family still is, and it's also 9 hours of time difference. I've never been to New Zealand, and the closest I've been was in Sydney. But one of my closest employees, or like first employees, he traveled New Zealand, and everything I saw from there, I get why you can fall in love with that.
Yeah.
And
the beauty with our chat today, Benjamin, is we are only 3 hours apart. Well, in fact, I'm 21 hours ahead of you, so I'm living in your future. But technically, it's just 3 hours apart, which is easy to handle.
I mean, nowadays people are used to remote work, video calls, and all that. Yeah. How did you handle that back then in 2006, 7, 8, when you first moved over and had the idea you got to start in a conference, the DMEXCO, which of course also it really needs a lot of time, and it's a lot of if you do a conference, it's a lot about personal relationships. It's a lot about back and forth. It's a lot about convincing speakers, pursuing them, finding a team together, and all that. Did you travel a lot, or how was your setup?
It was insane. It is still insane, but it was insane at this time specifically. You're right. Everything you've mentioned, came up. So nobody was used to work remotely at this time. Not many people. So therefore, I'm used to it now for nearly 20 years. So the whole thing, coming out of COVID, etc., wasn't brand new for me personally. However, it meant a lot of travel times going back and forth, as you said. I traveled nearly every month back and forth. At the end, I had a team on site, right, in Germany, mainly in Germany, who worked with me. Means when I was back in New Zealand, being 12 hours ahead of Europe, of Germany, that means my nighttime became, my daytime. So I started at evening time, my time. I went to bed at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, right, when it was then afternoon in Germany. So you had to change your behaviors to make this happen. It means a lot of commitment, but this is, everybody who is entrepreneur knows this better than anybody else. This is whether spending your time, being flexible, traveling, etc. You have to be committed. And if you are, then it works out, and if you have the right idea in mind and the right concept, the right people you work with, then it works out. But we were the groundbreaker at this time. Think about 2007, digital online was already, powerful and meaningful, and there was a lot of businesses, in this sector. AdTech just started to come up with. But there was no event like this. We were not used to. Hey, we are happening virtually, right? We are happening on computer screens. Our industry. Why should I go to a physical event? Why should I invest into a physical presence like a massive trade show and conference? That was a groundbreaker for, I think, many others in the industry.
Especially as it's not as in, let's say, traditional businesses, like, I don't know, automotive industry or RVs or so. They had their trade shows ever since cars or RVs or whatever exist, and they come together. It's a very physical, very offline experience. And you guys did this for the first time, especially if you don't have a physical product to show. Why do you actually want to meet? And then you create the value, and people were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, and we made it right, and there was a need for that because many other developed over the time around the world, and we became big. I mean, after I think 4 or 5 years, we brought 60,000 people together over 2 days, coming to Cologne from all over the world. We brought in more than 1,200, I think around 1,300 exhibitors. Investing into a physical presence, into booth in a big trade hall. We talk about 120,000 square meter, which is, times 10, roughly times 10, far more than 1 million square feet. So it is a bit like, or it was a bit at this time, a bit like a CS or something like this. That was massive.
Why didn't you guys expand even further, also into other countries? Also, let's say like a web summit or so. That kind of like branched out to South America and went even further.
Yeah. So first of all, we for the first couple of years we believed we have to establish this first as a central event once a year that the whole world comes together here. And then what we did already was we ran. I was running a lot of satellite events around the world. So we went to Asia, China, Japan, Korea, and so on. We went to US, across Europe. So we organized satellite events, which was not that size than the main event, but satellite events, as the name says, individual events to attract more people and partners to come to Cologne every year. So that was our strategy at this time, to support this main event as a central hub. Then there was a time that we thought about, okay, would it make sense to expand? But here's the thing, and by the way, this still drives me also till today when I think about Possible, my latest venture. You can't just copy and paste. There were other examples where people tried this or companies tried this and it failed because you have to consider regional special circumstances. Cultures are different, markets are different. We still talk about the same kind of business challenges, but markets are different because of different players, et cetera, policy requirements. And therefore, it's not easy just say, hey, let's launch somewhere else and let's do the same thing, in Asia or in Middle East. So it takes a bit of time to fully understand where it would make sense first to move. But this was at the time then, after 11 years running DMEXCO, where I decided, to step out and to sell that part of my business. So that
and it was a joint venture with Köln Messe, with Cologne Messe.
Yeah, exactly. So they provided, they were good partners to launch this business. They provided the facilities. Otherwise you need to rent it out, right, and pay a fortune to get all the services and the venue available for your event. But they came in as a joint venture partner at the very beginning, which was I think one of the good reasons why we could launch it so quickly then back in 2008.
Yeah. So you sold it, and obviously it was very successful, and you probably made a good amount of money of that. But and you are probably, I'm assuming, financially free. How did it feel afterwards? How were the months afterwards when you are not anymore in the wheel and you don't have the responsibility? You're not anymore the CEO, and you just see things happening. Do you go back to New Zealand, just spend some time in nature? Like, how was it for you as a person?
Well, I think like always, you feel a kind of relief that you have a bit more freedom and flexibility. At the same time, when you are an entrepreneur, you always think about what's next, right? You don't stop doing this. So and that ended up that I launched together with my business partner, Frank. We launched a new more boutique type of conference the year later in 2019. So it was exactly a kind of opposite, very boutique, very senior oriented, and that was my that was my focus at this time. So we launched in 2019, and then, as we all know, something happened a couple of months later, beginning of 20. So therefore, it was obvious for me that it doesn't make sense at all. I was definitely not into this kind of hybrid thing. Everybody started talking about this, and of course, we know that it didn't work out. I was not into this, so I stopped this immediately. That was the time where I really could relax because we were, caught in our own country. We could enjoy, living here in New Zealand in the first 12 months without COVID, and then we were hit harder than maybe other regions, and then we were in a shutdown. So we went through all this, but at the end, that was a great time, really great time, to reflect, to spend time with your family, and all these things in this wonderful country. So that reminded me why we originally moved. But being an entrepreneur, then I started sometimes back in 21 or so, I started, or 20 already, I started to think about a new business. That was the starting point. Connecting with my American friends, with my network over there. And they approached me saying, whenever we come out of this shit show of COVID, we need something fresh, something new. So, and this was the time when I started to think about a new concept, event concept, which didn't exist, especially in the US, which didn't exist. So, and then I started to work on this possible idea. And yeah, I mean, this is thinking back just a couple of years ago. During the shutdown, I've left the country twice. I didn't know whether I can go back to my family and get back into my country, because I have also citizenship of New Zealand, which is your basic right. But the world was different at this time, right? The government couldn't guarantee me that I could go back. So I left the country. I went over to New York, which opened up at this time again. I founded the company. I started my funding trip. I was on the road and get the funding done. And that was all happening in 21, second half of 21. And then under all these circumstances, with a lot of unknown, and people told me, hey, we don't need another event. And people won't go back to in-person events because of COVID experience. I said, no, I don't think you're right. I believe into this. It has to be a new package. It has to be a new idea behind. But the core thing that people want to be in the same room, maybe not as frequently, as often as before, but this is still something very human. And this still counts. And I think as we look around in today's world, despite all the digital connections, etc., which makes sense, and you and me, hey, we have a great conversation here, right? Not being in the same room, but it still makes a difference when you have 5 minutes with somebody in the same room, face to face. It changes your relationship. So that was
you will never forget that.
Exactly, that was a given for me. So I was 110% convinced that this is the right move. You're an entrepreneur, you have to be convinced, 1,000%, and then you get others to believe into your idea. And this happened with my founding partners, my early investors I brought in. A lineup of the most famous industry leaders supported me, not just financially, but with their network, with their support. And that was the base for me to be successful with Possible, which I launched then finally in April 23.
How did you build your network in the United States? I mean, you spent most of the time in Europe and worked for the American company, and sometimes the Americans also come over. But it seems like you have really good and deep relationships out here.
Frankly speaking, you have to have a talent for this. You have to have a talent to connect with people, also emotionally, not just focus on business. I think that's one of my strengths, I can say. And second, you have to be committed. And that means traveling like hell. Traveling like hell to be with these people in the same room, spending time in person from time to time, not every week, not every month, but from time to time, and listening because they have something to say. They are all successful. They want to share with you. They have advice. They have ideas. You need to be completely open-minded and listen to them to come up with the best considered concept, to be launched as a new business.
What are the top events, occasions where you meet these people? Where do you go? Where do you travel? Either worldwide or in the United States? Besides Possible, we will talk. I keep saying we talk about Possible over and over, and I want to do a full deep dive in a little bit. But besides that, what are other events or like other occasions where you go, where you meet people, and how do you make sure that you actually spend time and you not just hang in a bar and where super loud music blasting and you just drink a beer?
Yeah. So over years, I really, as I said several times, I traveled the world. So therefore, I think I've seen every single industry event over the years. It doesn't matter in Europe, of course, name it. I mean, industry events, but also industry events which are not really marketing focused, like South by, for example, like Web Summit, Mobile World Congress, name it. All these events which still exist. Of course, CES. All these events are not purely marketing events, but they are related to marketing, right? They are heavily related to tech. So therefore, it made sense for me. I wanted to understand what are they doing. And sometimes it's also, you have to consider event is not equal an event. So sometimes it's a conference. Sometimes it's more a trade show. Sometimes it's more an indoor-outdoor activation space, like Cannes Lions, for example. And online marketing rock stars, and events in Asia, Patel. The list is long. I've seen them all. And this is, of course, to fully understand what others are doing, why they're successful, what are the differences. You need to know this. Otherwise, you wouldn't find your sweet spot, for a new business, launching a new business.
Nice. Tell us the whole story about Possible. What makes a difference? I think I heard the name a couple times already before this year. And it was
I hope so.
Good speaker lineup, a lot of people coming there. But it was always like, Possible, okay, is this more like a mindset, a Tony Robbins thing? Is that a industry trade show? Yeah. Oh shit, that's a pretty good lineup. It also lines up very good just before Formula One in Miami. So probably you also chose that time specifically. But yeah, tell us the whole story about your idea and what you wanted to make different. Yeah. One more thing I want to add. I think the time after COVID was so unique. Crisis always create a lot of opportunity, and especially after this crisis, it changes a lot of patterns. I know it from working with our partners in the festival industry a lot. There was Rock am Ring, Wacken, Perukaville, Tomorrowland, and all these guys. People who spent their habits like for years and years, like Rock am Ring, the biggest German rock music festival. Their regular guests, they came for 20 years every single year in June. And then they were in their 30s or 40s, right? And at some point they didn't go for 1 year or for 2 years. And so it was super hard to get them back as existing, as returning customers. But on the other side, this also opened up a lot of opportunity for other industries, right? For outdoors, for sports, for everything in the leisure and wellness. And like, oh yeah, maybe I don't go to the festival and get shit faced. Maybe I just do a bike trip and buy my new $2,000 bike and spend that money is maybe spent way more wisely. So yeah, things change and there's a lot of opportunities. But yeah, tell us the whole story. What is possible and why is it so different?
Yeah. Wow. Where to start? I think first and foremost, you have to have a clear idea and a concept and a vision. But you can plan as good as you want. At the end, things are coming together somehow unexpectedly because you've mentioned, the connection to Formula One in Miami, which happens from time to time, but not necessarily every year. So therefore, that wasn't the key motivation to go to Miami and be there in April. That was more looking into the event calendar around the year, right, where the senior executives are heading to. So that was the sweet spot for us, to launch in April. And of course, because of the weather conditions, it's warm, but it's not hot summer, etc. in Miami. So that's all good. Then over the years, I've learned, hey, by the way, Formula One is happening, in some years, right after possible. So like this year again, it will happen again right after possible. But this wasn't the key reason to go to Miami. However, I had a clear vision. And of course, then together with the name we've chosen, Possible, it's interesting because you said, was it a mindset? Not really, but of course, it was meant to be, a kind of theme, ongoing theme, the name for this event, to provide a positive momentum for the entire industry. Possible is such a great name. It provides positive momentum, ideas, creativity. Let's make things possible, right? Let's talk about challenges. Like let's look into what's on everybody's agenda, in terms of risks and challenges and obstacles and all these things, but always with the mindset, let's make it possible, because there's always a solution, especially if we work together as an industry. So that was behind the naming, right? More or less. Mm-hmm. And then it was clear for me that it needs to be focused on marketing topics because it simply didn't exist. Not as an event combining a activation show and a conference. It's not just a conference, it's an activation show. It's not a trade show. It's an activation show, indoor, outdoor activations happening outdoor in the garden, on the beach, indoor as well, and a conference with several stages. So we're combining networking opportunities. We're combining presenting exceptional content, thanks to our partners and speakers, and we're combining business opportunities. So this year's approach is to combine our passion, not just my passion and my team's passion, but our industry passion for what we're doing every day with business opportunities. And if you go to a conference, I would say business opportunities are very limited. You go for networking opportunities, you go for content, but not necessarily for, I need somebody who's helping me in my business from tomorrow on. I need a partner. I need to find a partner. And this is what we do. This is one big differentiator. The other one is that we are bringing a very senior audience together. This year, we're expecting between 6,000 and 7,000 top executives from the entire marketing world. And as we all know, marketing is getting broader and broader, right? It includes brands, it includes agencies, any type of agencies. It includes creator economy. It includes tech companies, ed tech companies, martech companies, the whole thing. We bring everybody together, but it was designed originally by marketeers for marketeers. This is the core. This is the heart of possible. And
okay, I get it.
Talking about and driving the marketing agenda forward, you have to consider technology. You have to consider culture as well. So Possible is all about the intersection of marketing, technology, and culture, and combining all our passion with business opportunities. Does it make sense?
That totally makes sense. So if I understand this right, first thing is a good location that attracts a lot of people. Also, whether they live close by or a place where people like to go, right?
Yeah.
I think we also see this for trade shows in Las Vegas. Everyone likes to go to Vegas once a year, or to Munich for Oktoberfest, bits and pretzels. Once a year, that's perfect. So that's bucket number one. Second thing is the great lineup, and through your legacy and your insane network, you were able to leverage that and bring in the best people into one room,
right?
And curate a good. Yeah, I agree. There was something missing, and I attended. And don't get me wrong, I also love the trade shows or like conferences like South by Southwest or so. But to be honest, and I'm very happy they teared down that shitty conference center in Austin. It was just horrible. It's the US starter kit. You take a Sheraton from the 80s, take the ballroom and put a super ugly stage on it. It's not what you need in 2025 or 2026. You got to be prepared. It's got to be visually appealing. People go there also for a lifestyle, especially if you have these high-end C-level or VP decision makers.
Yeah,
they pay $5,000 for a ticket, so they expect everything like a black curtain, a black carpet. Everything has to be high end. And with high end, I don't mean necessarily luxury that you get served caviar all the time, but it has to have a certain standard, which is modern, which is on time, and which also, of course, looks good on social media and all the content that you're gonna produce.
Absolutely. I think you're right. It doesn't mean that you have to spend the biggest amount of money, but you have to put more efforts into, make things visible and how to execute things. And this was, I trained my team from the very first day on that this is something we need to do. It's not just the more obvious things, presenting great content, which is still the base, having the right partners on site, the right audience, bringing the right people into the room, which is still the most important thing, but everything else counts around this. And this is the execution. This is the curation, not just on the stage, but also curate people, connect with every single attendee. So our goal is not to become another 100,000 people event. I think this is over. This is no longer the currency in today's business. Launching a new business. If you have an existing business, fair, go on with that, right? Like OMR was, 80,000. CS was far more than 100,000 people. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about launching new business. I don't think that it's quantity anymore. It has to be quality.
How do you create actually these business opportunities that people make deals without being super salesy and just make it happen naturally?
I don't think, as I say, it's all about more quality than quantity in today's time. You cannot just put people, doesn't matter how good they are or how which level they are or they represent, and just put them into a room. Yes, they will start to network, etc. But you need to know what they want. You need to know about their business, their background, their personal situation. Do they represent a brand? What are their obvious challenges? So that you only learn about this if you connect with them, if you listen to them, and if you have the right data available, of course. You have to create them. You have to guide them at such an event. You have to connect them with the right people. I can only do this if I know what their objectives are, why they would come and consider to be in Miami for 3 days. That's important. It sounds so simple, but not many organizers does it, and organizers do it because they are too big. You can't do it with 50,000 people anymore. You simply can't.
Let me give you an example. What happens at most conferences? There's the chief marketing officer or chief customer officer of Marriott International, Peggy Rowe. She's speaking there. She has a keynote. She wants to get a little bit publicity. Maybe she has a core message to tell. And of course, she also combines it with a site with it at the Ritz-Carlton in Miami to check out the facilities or so. So she has her keynote there. and afterwards she just wants to get home. She's done also, and then there are a couple of agencies waiting, trying to approach her. One of them is me, trying to talk to her. I give her my 2 minutes pitch and tell her an emotional story about why I love Marriott and something like that. But then there's like maybe 10 more people like that. And so on the one hand side, you have all these brand decision makers that get pitched all the time by a lot of random agencies. And on the other side, you have a lot of attendees that are these agencies or service providers or so that have some services to offer. Some of them are good, some not, right? How do you create a balance that everyone gets what they want and that the other one is not annoyed by either the experience, right? The agencies are disappointed if they can't talk to any speakers and there's only other agencies in the room. And the brand marketeers, they also don't want to get pitched by 20 people. They want to have a conversation rather like with 3 or 4 people that they're actually looking forward to talking to you.
Absolutely spot on. Exactly. This is one of the biggest challenges for, I think, not just us, but also for any kind of brand who takes care about your audience, right? I mean, maybe some don't take care about this. However, you cannot solve this, to make things an obligation for somebody. If you speak, you cannot say, hey, you have to be there. You have to meet with everybody out there in the lobby or whatever. It has to be everybody's choice. First thing, and knowing that some appreciates, some meaningful conversations with, in this case, some of the agencies, for example. On the other hand, that means that, the higher we talk in terms of executives, you have to provide them with a curated experience. So this is why we run dedicated programs, not in terms of content programs, but programs in terms of experiences. We talk to them before. We want to listen, okay, what are you looking for? How much time do you have to stay on site? Is it the full day? Is it a couple of days? Is it just a couple of hours? Are you interested in joining, a dedicated meet and greet, or do you want to run one-to-ones? Do you want to be with your peers, and discuss about the challenges between senior marketers, for example? This is what we provide optionally, but also please bring your team with you. It's not just about yourself. Yes, you lead the business, you represent the brand, but you have a team who has to bring solutions to the table to you internally. Bring your team because they have to be in the same room with the solution providers and with the vendors, right? They have to learn about what's the latest AI, innovation, etc. And this is why it works with different levels, if they bring the teams, because we have different formats. And then we also have, for example, a famous hosted meeting program. We run more than 3,000 meetings on site in April. Meetings organized, pre-confirmed meetings, double opt-in between marketeers and vendors. Exactly because what you described. You know who you're going to meet. You know exactly what you will talk about. And then you can decide, hey, this guy is helpful for me. You can bring it back to your boss, into your company and say, I found the right partner for us. We are solving our issue here. That's creating business opportunities. This is what I'm referring to, what I've said before. And this is not an obligation. It's an option. Everybody can choose what he wants to do. If somebody just comes and wants to party, and sleep all day, okay, right. It's not what I'm hoping for. But if somebody else said, okay, I was just listening to the fantastic content, I'm in the conference room all day long. Yes, okay, this person can do it. But overall is the mix of everything. And this is what I'm meaning with curation. You need to know what your audience want. And with a couple of thousand people on site, you can still do it even better than with 100,000 people. And this is where we spend a lot of time, a lot of efforts to fully understand everybody's needs and then come up with the best curation they experience. And then it's a no-brainer that they will come back every year again. As you said, some go to an event 20 years in a row or longer because it provides exactly the outcome, what you need and what you're looking for, and on an even broader range. Because in today's time, you have far more options than ever before for some reason, right? This is today's world. You have more options. You can choose. If you cannot convince people, they move, they go, they're not coming back.
From a value proposition side and a marketing standpoint, I would fully agree. If you are at Possible and had that experience, it's exceptional, and probably you have a very high return rate of people who are coming back or loyal customers. But I'm still wondering, how do you attract new people to join? Without telling that story that it's so that you get. Because everybody claims, oh, you have the best connections and we have the best meetings and this and that and that. And second question on that is, how do you stay relevant throughout the year when you have that tentpole, only 3 highlight days per year? How do you create the noise on social media and get the vibe up throughout the whole year?
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of questions. First, the best ambassadors for you are the people who like the event and go home and tell others. So you create a lot of FOMO, and this exactly happened over the last 3 years. Everybody heard now about Possible in our wide industry. Everybody knows, if possible, I should be there. Otherwise, I will miss a big opportunity, right? And by the way, costs are far less than going to Europe, to the Côte d'Azur every year. It's far more costly than traveling, having an airfare of just a couple of $100 and go to Miami and enjoy an even better event.
Okay, so just framing this a little bit, you're competing with Cannes Lions, where a lot of American CMOs fly all the time internationally, and you're definitely also hitting hard on the American market, that they say. So also these stricter travel policies are kind of good for you, that they stay in the country and they're like, oh yeah, it's just in Miami. Miami hotel prices are usually not too bad. So
I'm not competing with Cannes Lions. I'm just saying, people have options, and everybody choose the better option, the cheaper option, which makes most sense. And this is what I'm referring to. Maybe it's not a competition to make a decision either way, but maybe you do both. It's everybody's choice. But I'm saying, this was one of the reasons why we felt, US doesn't have such an event, and obviously it works out well. So if everybody goes home and take something really meaningful out of this event, whatever your objectives were, getting new leads, no contacts, having inspirational conversation, finding the right partner for you for your daily business, etc. If we can provide this is, that creates the FOMO, and this gives us the guarantee that more people come in every year. But it's not the growth per se. I'm not saying we have to have 5,000 more people next year. I mean, yes, we are running a business and we would appreciate to grow our business. But I'm saying, as long as you bring the right people into the room, growth will happen automatically. It has to go over the quality thing instead of just pushing for numbers.
And your investors are as patient?
Yes, because they've seen that how successful it was from the very beginning on. There was no other event in the industry which developed so quickly and was established so quickly, and that was the reason why we got acquired after the second Possible event by the Hive Group.
Okay, wow! I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, was it planned like this from the beginning on? No, not so quickly, but there was a great conversation with Hive Group and Mark Joshua, the CEO of Hive Group. He saw the potential. He saw how successful we already were after 1 and 2 years. And we found that, Hive is a perfect partner for us. And now, after more than a year, I can say we were right. So yes, that's part of the story, right? And this is obviously also a proof that we did it right in some way.
Cool. Second part of the question was, how do you stay relevant throughout the year with other content opportunities? I know you're doing a very good high-profile podcast yourself. Guys, if you're listening to this episode that you like it, you should definitely check out Christian's podcast. It's really, really amazing. So podcast,
which is called Possible Now.
Possible Now.
You can find it on iHeart. Sorry for that self-promotion.
Oh yeah, no, that's what it's about. I mean, people who listened on so far until now, they would probably like to hear more. And I'm when when it comes to podcasts, for me, I'm an addict, right? I listen about something about one person, and I have to listen everything they say, and I hope they say something different than other podcasts. Then I don't tell the same story over and over again. How do you stay relevant throughout the years? Are there micro events? What are the things you're doing?
Yeah, of course we do, some very special gathering events to reconnect with our audience, but it's mostly, to show up at other opportunities to reconnect with our clients and customers and audience regularly. I personally, again, travel the world. I'm going back and forth every month to have always, the opportunity to get in touch with the growing community, massive community. My team does it as well. But to be honest, and I think other event owners and entrepreneurs, can confirm. The moment the doors close of this year's event, I'm thinking about already about 27, right? In fact, but the moment the doors close of your current event, you're switching completely over how to make things happen, and even better 12 months later. It's an all year round business. Yes, it sounds crazy that you show up for 3 days or 3.5 days and make everything possible over 3.5 days, and you work with an entire team all year round for that moment 12 months later, again and again. Because you cannot just say, oh, we do it in a similar way. At least we're not saying this. I told the team we have to review, we have to rethink every single piece. Nothing we did this year means it's a guarantee for next year. We have to, of course, some things stay like this because it was successful and we are sure that it will work again. But you have to spend the time to review every single piece. Doesn't matter what it is. Formats, location, timing, content, your target groups, who you bring together, and all these things.
I love that you are so dedicated and also critical, even though you guys are very successful, but still looking for the best thing. And I think that's it's a very German value, and kind of like being perfectionist and everything on point there. But I have a kind of like a leadership question for you. Our year for BDX was very successful this year in Germany and the United States. We grew a lot and all that, made a good profit. And I'm usually the one kind of like challenging the team, and they tell me like, "Hey, Benny, can you just leave us alone for a couple of weeks, like to celebrate the success?" How do you manage this when you are kind of like you're going out from the conference, right? It was so successful, it was sold out, everybody's hyped, and you're the guy like, oh man, that carpet there was like a thing standing, and the video on the beamer or the screen that was off or so. How do you make sure the team is still motivated but also gets where you're coming from?
I think there must be a time, and I think we came to this point relatively quickly, thanks to the exceptional team I'm working with. And I've hired, obviously, the right people. Because there must be a time that you don't need to tell this anymore or to mention this anymore. The team is recognizing this on their own. And whether it's on site, something you can fix immediately, or then for the next year. Yes, I'm part of the conversation, and of course, I can always come up with additional, ideas and things to be considered for next year. But no, it after 3-4 years later, it should be your DNA, the entire team's DNA, and celebrating and enjoying the time. I'm always saying, before the doors open, I'm always saying, yes, it means a lot of work, sleepless nights, especially during the event, all year, but especially during the event. But this is the moment why we're doing this, why we work our ass off 12 months, all around the year. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. This is why we're doing this. We're not doing this just for money. We're not doing this because we have to. Ideally, we do this because we want to enjoy this moment. We want to be with our customers, with our audience, and see them enjoying the event. And this is the biggest joy. Maybe for some of you, it sounds a bit too naive, but this is what I believe into. And this is the DNA of my whole team and entire team. And if this happens, then you can focus on other stuff, more strategic, visionary stuff. You don't need to come up with the comment, hey, by the way, the carpet should be red instead of blue. They will figure it out on their own. They will recognize this on their own.
This is great. What would be a speaker that's still on your bucket list?
Yeah, the speaker. I mean, of course, in today's time, with such a diverse industry, it's a longer list of speakers I would love to see coming. Maybe the most exciting, I don't know. It depends on everybody's priorities, but maybe having Elon and Sam Altman being on the stage and discussing about AI.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
Amazing.
Or the chief AI, the AI guru from Google, for example, and somebody like Sam Altman. So something like this, I think that could be very exciting.
Great. Christian, I would have so many more questions and we could talk on and on and on. Let's keep this conversation going at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe do another podcast
Would love to.
after possible 2026. I think you have a phenomenal story, which is very, very engaging, which is very inspiring to a lot of people. You took a lot of leap of faith, didn't found it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And it was definitely a really, really good success. And I can't wait to join Possible next year. Super, super excited for that. You definitely sold me on that. And thank you so much for taking the time to join the podcast here, New Trend Society. If you want to learn more about Christian, check out his podcast, Possible Now. And he's also on LinkedIn. Probably happy to connect. And thank you so much, Christian.
Awesome. It was fun. Thank you so much for inviting me.